Today, our guest is a digital creator. She's also the executive secretary and head of events for a blogging and content creation organization. Please welcome Glyth Villamor. Hi, Ate Glyth. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for the invite. I really appreciate, and it's been a pleasure working with you, especially with the social media and the multimedia ministry.
Thank you for also accepting. So, just to give context, we work together as part of a social media team for a church and as well as multimedia. So, let's start this first. Being a digital creator, is this something that you have dreamed of as a career that you wish you wanted to take?
Yes, that was my dream. I remembered when we graduated from Trekkers, our mentor asked me what ministry to join. It was, I think, the year 2012.
Mm.
And I actually answered her back honestly that I don't want to join any ministry. I just want to take pictures, to travel, and I don't know what ministry would that be. So we don't know how to call it back then. But 5 years from that time, I already know what it's called. It's blogging and travel photography. So I think that was already a dream that has been developed because of my experience as well.
So, talking about your experience, what was your first-hand experience? Was it photography in itself? Was it also writing posts?
Well, it started with journalism subject in college. From there, I want to learn about photography. So I took journalism class
Mm.
and I was awarded as the best picture. So I think that was the start of my interest with photography. Then after I graduated, I was actually having the urge of looking for my siblings, my half brothers and sisters. So
Mhm.
I didn't know where they were at that time. I took the adventure of traveling, looking for them, because
Mm.
what was left with me was the diary of my stepmothers. I had their address, but of course, when I was a student, I'm not able to go that far. I traveled. Basically, I traveled to Iligan City. I
Mhm.
traveled to Iloilo to look for my siblings. And then everything was actually noted carefully in details, like how to reach this place, where to go, how much. From that time on, I actually just put it on my online journal. Then later on, that became my portfolio for an application to the organization that I'm currently an officer.
Wow. So just to clarify with that portfolio, was it like a photo blog
It's
or?
already like a blog, a photo and then a direction or an information, my experience. It's basically a experiential travel.
That's actually pretty amazing. It all started with there. And I think that
Mm,
already served as the direction of where
yeah.
you're headed now. Looking back at that moment until now, I'm sure it was a journey. And when you submitted that portfolio, is it a move to say that this is going to be my full-time career from then on?
Back then, of course, it was like a trial and error. So I didn't really dream of having it full time because I already have a full time job. So it was like a hobby or a passion. Then it actually grew. The interest, the love grew deeper. Early this year, I decided to really take the leap and resign from my full-time job and make this official. Right now, I'm actually making Cebuana Diaries as what I dream of this blog to be. It's gonna be like weaving the stories and narratives of Cebu. That's what my dream is.
Wow, that's a big dream out there at Glyth. It's something that you would never expect it to be. Like the way I would think of it is we may seem to be one who is planning all the directions, but I think your story is it was just unplanned and then things
Mhm.
just went in your way and then you just prospered in the career you're at.
Yeah. I believe, Earl, God just make all things beautiful in his time. I think that started it. I thought being in a broken family, before I was really like depressed with me having that kind of childhood. But then one thing that I've learned a lot is that experience is a gift, right? So basically, God gave you that experience because He's maturing you, He's building a character in you. It's something that God has already planned for you. because you are wonderfully made.
I agree. I agree with that. Category. So let's go take the journey first of your career. So when you first started to be a blogger, how was it like balancing between your full-time job then? What were the challenges you faced and what did you
Mhm.
learn from them?
One challenge that I always experience is choosing. It's either working overtime or going to the event. So, what I do is I actually weigh things out, making sure that I have my boundaries. So, if I'm at work, then my focus is my work. But if I'm on my event, then I'll be 100% present in that event. So basically, just being present to where you
Right.
are at the moment.
Were there ever times that you felt like as you were trying to balance between your full-time work then and blogging overpowered you than your full-time job that you felt an urge to leave your full-time job then and focus on blogging?
A lot of times, Earl, because usually if I go to the events and then I have my work early in the morning, of course, I have no sleep or maybe lack of sleep. But I'm wondering why every time I go to the event, I always have this excitement in me that I cannot explain. Right now, I have already taken the leap of leaving my work, my full time job, because probably it's been 10 years that I've been really reflecting on if I continue this blog and just leave my work or leave blog and then just do my work. But then life is too short. I have to do my passion. I have to be happy to where I am and where I'm going, especially with what I'm going to do. Because I think the word ikigai is too meaningful for me. Being able to fulfill my purpose and being able to be passionate about it, like having a Timothy, having a Timothy, teaching your Timothy on what you're doing, letting that student love also what you're doing, and basically passing on the baton to the next generation.
I would say that it was really a leap of faith, as you would describe it, is because it's actually hard to weigh in. You have to weigh in between what you love to do, what wakes you up early in the morning, your ikigai, as what you mentioned, and
Yes.
also the financial stability. Let's admit that
Yes,
your
yes.
full-time job then was more of financial stability. How did you find assurance that despite the comforts that you'll be missing
Mhm.
out when pursuing blogging, you are sure that you will feel prosperous in your endeavors now?
That's really a good question. That's basically what's making the decision very hard because, of course, you have to balance things out, especially with finances, of course. Before I decided to resign from work, I made sure that my blog has been stabilized, especially with the networks that I have. And I also have some basically making it like a promotional services, advertising services. So I have some networks that I work to take pictures and to promote places, cafes from friends. That's what I do. And I actually just registered it in the DTI so that I can do official photographies and blogs for businesses.
I think you're one of the fortunate ones that you started blogging and really making it as a profit because there are some who blog to make that as a hobby. Let's have a journey towards your blogs before a Cebuana Diary. So, can you give us a rundown of the first blogs you had and how the journey was, your learnings and all of that?
As I've mentioned earlier, it started with my travel, just local travels here and there, looking for my siblings. So that was the start. Then PRs already came to invite me to their events. There has been promotional events like Philippine Airlines. So I get to have these amazing perks like traveling for free, vacations for free. And then now since I'm making it official, I'm actually able to accept already being paid an official business to do advertising services to businesses.
That's a good advocacy right there, Ate Glyth. I like that pursuit of yours. Can you still recall to us which post you did or which moment that you felt like I feel stable doing this and I feel like this is something that I want to pursue with my whole heart?
Mhm. It was the
Okay.
Cereal Farm. So first day it went 3,000 reads. So I was really shocked, and there was like a lot of comments. Of course, my advocacy was really to promote Cebu. From that blog, those comments, those reach, I've realized being a blogger has also this big responsibility. It's something big already because it reached 3,000 views in a day. From then on, there were free travels from Philippine Airlines. So I went international already for
Wow.
free in a business class. So I think I love this kind of life that I'm in right now. And this was my dream. My mentor even told me that I remembered 5 years ago, you said you don't know what's the definition of that ministry that you'd like to have. But now, after 5 years, we already know what it is. It's called blog. And so
Wow.
yeah, it was really amazing, Earl, because first thought, I didn't actually know what it is, right? And then came to a point, it became my life from then on.
Wow. That's like I mentioned, it's really an amazing ride for that. So I think you have been an icon of sorts in terms of the local scene of blogging. That's actually an amazing story right there. So my question would be this: is there any formula or elements that could make up of a blog post that is engaging?
For me, it's timeliness, most especially. And we've seen it in our church, right? With social media, when we do the post right away, it
Yes.
really increases the reach and the engagements. And of course, accuracy, the right news. You don't add anything, but you'll just have to be accurate with what you write about. That's very important. The content, of course, to be really honest with my readers. And of course, I want to inspire and encourage. So I write about good things.
I think the crucial element for me, I would say, is really timeliness. Because
Mm,
timeliness really matters. Because for me, if timeliness is a very crucial one, I think that will distribute to all.
it
And
follows. Mhm.
it follows, right? So, and
Yes.
also, if you also have the right audience to really
Mm-hmm.
engage in that, that would be an effective blog. But actually, if
Mm-hmm.
you go beyond it, it's an effective post, most especially in social media. We are now crossing the bridge between social media. And so far, this is one comment I heard that with the popularization of Reels, it has been said that there are less people who read blog posts but choose to focus on Reels because Reels, which is natural in itself, faster, and people engage more in Reels than the blog posts themselves. What are your thoughts on that, Ate?
Partly right, depends on your audience, because it's true, I cannot deny it, that they will just scan through the stories. That's why we do stories and reels. However, with blog, with people who want details, full information, they would still go to blogs, because with the blogs they will learn a lot, especially with travel blogs.
Do you say it's a generation gap or is it just a strategy for a specific content? Which one is the best platform?
Actually, it's both. So
Mm,
I cannot say that it's a generation gap, because still right now people can read and people do read blogs. There are options given like the reels, vlogs, but then people still read, and they still read blogs as well. If blogs aren't important nowadays, we will not get any invites anymore, but we still do. And it's been a lot of events coming in and through. So we're still alive. Blogs are still alive.
I'm glad that you said that, Ate Glyth, because hearing from you yourself, you're assured that blogs are still alive. And I think my take on that is I think it's a personal decline nowadays when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to reading. I mean,
Yeah.
there are few people who read books, and it's now everything can be read on a tablet. But I admit that
Mm.
I'm wary because I'm actually worrying because the habit of reading may be taken in the tablet themselves. So they may
Yeah.
rely on reels and really whatsoever. So, and I would say reading is very crucial, most especially if the mind needs to be imaginative and creative
True.
of all these
Creative.
sorts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually assured to say that blogs are here to stay, most especially for those that are really needing it. which is good. Through the years of you creating blogs, how has it empowered you? What has it become of you?
For me, experience is a gift. So it actually made me grow from exploring my personal interest of looking for my siblings, right? And then through the experiences, the lessons of being a blogger, I've reached to a point that I can say that I can already have a student that I can teach, or probably I can already pay forward
Right.
with all those experiences that I have.
Wow. So with that fulfillment, what are the lessons that you learned along the journey from that start and then fast forward to 5 years?
Lessons learned, building strong relationship, basically with blogging. So for me, it's really having a strong relationship with your constant. My high school friends, they're there to stay, my church, and of course, selected people from the blogging community, which I've known for years. Because, of course, it takes time to know a person really deep.
Right. That's a good point right there. It's hard nowadays to find constants who will really stay true to you. That's a
Exactly.
sad reality, but you really need these people to help you move forward to where you are going to go. You've talked about your journey as a blogger now. Take us into the journey of how you involve yourself into social media.
So, of course, being a blogger, I have to be diverse, evolving. So, with the different platforms now, we have modern blog. They are still called blogs now, but there are already vlogs, podcast. For me, I want to also be updated with the trend. So, I'm learning reels, doing reels, learning to do not so much of vlogs, but I'm learning a lot of new things. And one of those are reels. With regards to my personal social media, or when I do staycation or travel, I make it a point that I do some reels or blogs as well with my personal stories or personal Instagram or on Facebook. Now, with regards to the church, I also want to make it balanced. During Sundays, I have my pictures. We also have our reels to, of course, engage with a different audience, with different generations as well.
I have seen the reels that you have created. I would
Mhm.
say that how you formatted your reels, we can actually be at par with other outreaches who are also performing this kind of reels. So it actually takes skill and it actually
Mhm.
takes creativity to really do that. And I think we can be capable of that. It's a matter of investing in all these and using it in the right way. Now, we've talked a bit about social media in a sense. So social media, I think, as far as our experience is concerned, it has evolved greatly from its inception until the popularization it has now. It has no doubt that, pun intended, that it has a societal impact. Just your thoughts on that, Ate Glyth.
Indeed, true to your words, Earl, social media has been evolving from then up until now. It has catered to a more diverse audience. Before, it was mainly blog,
Right,
and we really have to read blogs so that we will know what's new. But now we have learned to do podcasts for those who just wants to listen while driving, say for example, or reels.
right,
That's what we do, especially to capture the new gen's attention. Because of that, I think it's also algorithms and engagements change.
right,
Everything has evolved. And personally, I think I like it because we're growing.
right.
And we're not just leaning towards the traditional way, but also learning to reach out the new generation.
Right. You really have a point there. So I think the grasp of communication has been challenged as well. I think it's high time that we invest in these things well so we can know how effective we can be on that one. Now,
Yes.
just to educate, what are some elements that are in common with blogging and social media? Is this just the same as what you mentioned earlier?
Basically, it's multimedia incorporated in one. and their social media, and then the branches like podcast, reels, the vlogs. So basically incorporated into one na. So social media, it's the same with the reels, the blogs, vlogs, podcast.
Yeah.
All those are part of it.
But the elements to create effective content are just the same, right?
Yes, definitely. I think we've mentioned it earlier, like the timeliness, right? And then the
Mm.
content, of course, the accuracy of the information.
Right, right. So it's safe to say. So any form of media goes into these aspects. So thank you for that, Atiquette. So just for those who are aspiring to become content creators, I'll just say content creators because it's a wide scope to
Mhm.
say
True.
blog, vlog, podcast,
Mm.
and means of communication have changed. What is your advice to those who seek to follow the path just like you?
My personal advice would be just be authentic and learn to know what's your passion so that you'd be able to give your best in what you do. You don't have to be someone else, but you have to be real to who you are and what you really love. And then just love it and make sure that you put your values in it, and then everything just follows. Take it from the heart.
I like that point that you said it's a heart because I think the best content really comes from the heart. And I think you will know that because if you
Yes,
give your heart and soul to it, I think the heart is a useful tool, most especially if it's a creative direction, because that will speak volumes. So
exactly.
that is also my advice for this as well, being also a content creator myself, just like this talk that we're having right now.
Yes.
Right. So just to wrap up, what wakes you up early in the morning?
Of course, my ikigai. For me, I believe that until God takes you, you still have a purpose in your life. And for me, being able to have a Timothy in my life whom I can pass on what has been taught to me and I can pay forward what has been given to me. That's my ikigai. And that's the reason why I'm waking up each morning.
So it's interesting that you mentioned your ikigai as one thing that wakes you up early in the morning because that is actually what ikigai means. So with that ikigai, I'm sure you have like a motto or a life verse that motivates you or strengthens you each day. Would you happen to have one?
Yes, and I'd love to share it with you, Earl. It's Second Corinthians chapter 12, verse 9. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. So I'm actually doing the best that I can in excellence, if possible, so that God's power or God may be seen in me. So that's what I'm actually one thing that I wake up in the morning and having that joy in me.
You know, even though if you are not practicing Christianity, I think what we can get from there is the fact that we are just really human and whatever faith that you practice, there is this divine being, or in this case for Christianity is God, that actually humbles you to not just to really rely on your own strength. And we are just really human beings with our natural strength. And I know there is something supernatural, something divine that will help us really become supernatural in what we do. And I think if it weren't for that power, we wouldn't be doing extraordinary and great things because that supernatural power actually has some great things. It's like we're just being given a superpower or anything power that actually enables us to do really all these mighty things. And then this has really become ingrained in us. So what I'm saying is this is actually one that humbles us to an extent to do great. So thank you very much,
Yes.
Atiglith, for sharing that life verse. And once again, thank you very much for taking your time for this talk.
My pleasure, Earl. And thank you also for this opportunity.